I'm Steve Clemons. I direct the American Strategy Program here at the New America Foundation, and we're organizing an event today focused on the London G20 Economic Summit that's taking place on April 2nd. Desmond Lachman is a resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, and really one of the people some years ago who had great qualms about how the international economy had organized itself, questions about U.S. policy, and in my view, and he may not share this view, when I heard Vice President Cheney say no one saw this economic crisis coming, I knew he was wrong, because Desmond Lachman definitely did. Desmond, what do you, as you look towards the G20, what do you think are the fundamental issues that when you bring together these leaders and the finance ministers of the world, what tough task do they have to grapple with that you worry about? What keeps you up at night?
Well, I think the immediate task that they have to grapple with is how do they stabilize the global economy. The story right now is that we've got a synchronized contraction that is affecting not simply the United States, but it's affecting Europe, it's affecting Japan, and it really does have the risk that it feeds on itself. It's also got the risk that it spawns protectionism. So I think that the first order of the day has to be, how do you fashion policies in a coordinated way to stimulate the global economy? The United States has gone down that path to some degree, but what is missing is fiscal stimulus in the surplus countries that is going to keep global growth going.
Surplus countries, China, Germany, Japan.
Exactly. I think that right now China has actually made some progress down that route. The key country is Germany, and what I'm worried about is that if the Germans don't stimulate their economy in a very quick way, we're going to have a major crisis, not simply in Eastern Europe, but also in Western Europe. Western Europe, banks in West Europe have loaned something like $1.5 trillion to Eastern Europe. So if Eastern Europe fails, and fail it will if the German economy is not robust and capital starts flowing back to Eastern Europe, then we really could have a crisis right through Western Europe, and that could really throw the Eurozone, the whole Eurozone experiment into question.
And so much, just to put it in lay language, I mean, you have doubts that the euro, as we know it, could actually not survive in its current form if we don't get a remedy to the situation.
Absolutely. That it's not simply that the countries in Eastern Europe are having difficulty, but it's also the countries like Portugal, Italy, Greece, Spain, Ireland. All of these countries, for one reason or another, either they're having housing busts or they've got competitiveness problems, that really need to have a very vigorous external environment for them to cope with it. Within the constraints of the euro, they can't reduce interest rates, they can't reduce the exchange rate, they don't have their own exchange rate, they don't have their own interest rate. So what we talk about is countries like Ireland or Spain that could be heading for unemployment at levels like 20% for a very prolonged period of time. And what keeps me awake at night is that those political systems won't be able to tolerate that kind of social pressure for that long period.
What do you think accounts for German recalcitrance so far? Why, what you've painted, and I know that your perspective is shared by others. This morning we heard from Martin Wolf from the Financial Times, who has much the same critique of German economic policy right now that you do. What do you think what is the resistance in Germany to recognize its significance within the European sphere?
Well, I think that with Germany, it's very deep in the German psyche that deficit spending is not a good way to go, that too much debt leads to inflation. Germans have the searing experience of hyperinflation, and they don't want to go back there. But I think that is really making a big mistake, because what they should be doing is diagnosing what the current situation is, realizing that the only solution to the current situation is that they engage in huge fiscal stimulus, which unfortunately so far they don't seem to be budging on that issue.
I mean, many people don't realize Germany had a $300 billion surplus. It's huge for a nation 1/4 the size of the United States.
Correct. They've got room to engage in fiscal stimulus. They're the only country that really does have that room, the only major country to do it. So I think that by their not doing fiscal stimulus, they're doing a disservice not simply to Europe, but to the global economy as well.
Well, Desmond, thank you. I want to let people know that we'll also be making available Desmond Lachman's PowerPoints that he shared with us from some recent presentations. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.